Hi, beautiful souls. It's Sadhana, and I'm here carrying on with the 31 Days of Tarot 2019. And today is actually, I'm going to do a few questions in a row, and I'm going to just go to the list of questions here. All right, so today I'm going to look at questions 17, which has to do with tarot journals and things like that. And the next one is about cards that I personally relate to. So I will share with you some of my favorite cards. And then question 19 is 5 tarot decks or oracle decks that I would want to have with me if I were shipwrecked on a desert island. So first of all, let's go to tarot journals. My tarot journal is just a free form open notebook. And in this journal, I usually doodle about spreads. If there's a new spread that I'm learning, I will write down the instructions for the spread, and then I will try the spread and I'll write comments about it. I do all of the notes for my personal readings, so my year ahead reading, and I don't tend to record my daily card draws. My tarot journal I use more for bigger readings that I do for myself, and I include tarot and oracle and Lenormand, and everything goes into it's just a notebook really. The other thing I do for tarot journaling is I use an Excel spreadsheet. So sometimes if I am going through a new deck, and I'm actually going to I'll show you the cards later. I'm going to record a video today or tomorrow about the manga tarot. So in my study of the manga tarot, I've really been looking at the numerology because there's some interesting stuff going on with that, as well as the cards are divided not only into suits but into seasons, and how the author chose for some of the cards to stick them into seasons is beyond me, but I've been doing a little bit of study with that. So I am it's funny. I am a very much a left brain person, and so the work that I do with my right brain is really truly um, out of character for me. But I think it really helps to bring me into balance. So my left brain, Sadhana, really likes to use Excel spreadsheets, and I do that a lot when I am trying to break down a deck or I learn a new aspect, and I like to keep things organized and um, yeah. So that's how I do my tarot journaling. And the next question is about what cards relate to you personally, not just your astrological associations or court cards. So this is a really good question. And the first card that came to mind was the Hermit card, because I I really do I really do appreciate a good hermit card. Like here's the one from the Sasraibito Tarot, just taking some time away. And it might be a personal association actually with this image. Another favorite hermit card right now is the one in the lily white where she's sitting inside the tree. And it's amazing. The traditional hermit card with the old guy with the lantern, I don't necessarily relate to. So when I was actually preparing to answer this question, it was really hard because I thought of a few cards that that I relate to, and I started flipping through a few decks. And I think the answer to this question is I relate to cards that touch me personally. And so there isn't a particular card, I don't think, in the tarot deck that I relate to personally. This is from the Year of the Wheel Tarot, and these are just a few cards that really kind of touch me and hit home, and I think they are so well done. And yeah, I just kind of right. So this is Five of Pentacles, and you know this poor dude is underneath the mushroom here. It's pouring rain, and he found a dry place to wait. And I don't know. I think it's a super alternative way to look at the Five of Pentacles. This Three of Swords for me is done so beautifully. I love the sun in the background. I love the birds on top of the hilts of the swords. I like that the ground below is parched and dead. There's optimism in the distance. And that there is, there's wisdom in processing whatever you've gone through with this card. I just think it's really, really well done. For me, when I first got this deck, this is trimmed, by the way, so it doesn't, I don't have the keywords or any, I never wrote on it because I found this deck actually really easy to read with. This Three of Wands is a kind of a different take on the Three of Wands, but it's summer, she's lying on the grass, she's watching the stars falling, and I don't know exactly what she's doing, but if it were me, I would be, just feeling really hopeful that, anything is possible. And it's, I don't know, I just really love it. And even this card, so this Six of Wands, there's only one person in the card, and it's kind of like, yeah, I've had enough, and I've packed my bag. Don't have too much with me, and I'm gonna go. It's time for a change. And I don't know, I feel the energy of this person and the strength of this person in what they're doing. This is one of my favorite cards, and there's actually a couple of decks that has the Four of Wands as a treehouse, and there's a lot of happiness and emotion with, building that foundation of the Four of Wands and the strength of the Four of Wands. So when the Four of Wands is done well, I really like that card. I'm not so keen on it otherwise. Sorry, I'm not so, there's some decks that it's kind of a meh card, but when it's done well, I really like it. The surprisingly, the Ace of Swords is a card that inspires me. When this card comes up for a querent, for a client, or when it comes up for myself, it's like, it's kind of like the universe is with me, and it's a time to really charge ahead and, just cut through all this stuff you've been worrying about, and, stop the self-doubt and just go for it. Yeah, I think I pulled a couple other Ace of Swords, and it's a really, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the scene from Merlin. Did you watch that series? Yeah. And then in the Druidcraft Tarot, that was Druidcraft Tarot. Druidcraft Tarot does some cards really well. I love this Wheel card. Totally different take on the Wheel card, but I feel very connected to this girl. I feel very connected to the process that she's going through. And so, yeah, the Wheel is not a card, I would say, is a card I feel connected to, but this one, the way it's done, I feel connected. I think I've talked about Queens before. I really do like it when the Queens are done well, and the Queen of Swords in this deck is just beautiful. You can just see her confidence and her wisdom and her experience and just her ease, her ease of being, really. Yeah, I pulled a few others here, and this is another deck that I don't use a lot, but I totally connect with it, the Everyday Witch Tarot. And this is a Hermit card again, done really well. It takes a lot of bravery to leave the pack, to leave the family, to leave your work. Take some time, whether it's a daily practice or whether it's something you do, every full moon or whatever it is, or you're going to go away for a month for a retreat. I think there's something about this card that it's really an important part of the process. And this deck, the Everyday Witch, does it really, really well. See, there's another Ace of Swords. Love, love, love this Ace of Swords. And the butterflies as well, too. Yeah. I kind of feel like I have lived in this deck. There's the World. There's a lot of optimism in this deck, and But at the same time, it's not, I don't think it's too sappy. I really, I like that deck. And the other, and I know I mentioned this before, but I'm going to say it again, and that's court cards. So generally speaking, court cards that are done well, where they've got emotion and personality, and it's like, yeah, I really get the element, right? Like, they look at this super sassy Page of Wands. Like, how can you not understand her and who she is? And yeah. So in answer to that question, that cards that I relate to, I don't know, they just kind of make me feel, they inspire me. And so, yeah, so those are just a few of my thoughts on what was the original question? Cards that I relate to. And then the next question is, if you were if you were shipwrecked on a desert island, what 5 decks would you take? Or hopefully, if you're shipwrecked, hopefully you have packed them on your ship. So you can't really be planning to be shipwrecked, can you? So it's kind of a funny question. So I guess the question is, if you were going on an extended holiday on a ship, if you were crossing the ocean, let me take those off, I don't need them now. If you were going on an ocean liner, if you were going on if you were sailing, like if you were sailing from the coast to somewhere in the middle of the Pacific or the Atlantic, and you were doing a big journey on the sea, your decks might get wet and they might get a little salt worn as well too. But what decks would you take with you on your trip? And why would you take them with you? Well, the decks that I have all picked, well, that's not true. So I'm going to start with, I picked 3 tarot decks, 1 oracle deck, and 1 Lenormand deck. So not surprisingly, the oracle deck that I picked is Oracle of Echoes by Anna Christina Turian. And this is a very well-used deck. Yeah, and I find that this deck speaks so loudly. I see something different in the images every time I look at it. I feel inspired. I feel inspired creatively, spiritually. There are as many dark, is that the right word? You know, not all the cards are positive cards. And that's one thing. And there's a dragon in it. So very important. There's a dragon in it. I'm really relating to cards with dragons these days. So yeah, so this is one of the decks that I would take. Oracle of Echoes by Anna Turian. And also not a surprise is Lily White. I probably wouldn't take the guidebook with me because it's a large guidebook and I would have limited space on my journey. Oh, here it is. Here's the Hermit card I was talking about. The girl in the womb of the tree. And yeah, very, very special deck to me. Beautiful sun card. This deck inspires it. It's very soul searching. It's loosely Rider-Waite-Smith based, and there are some cards that are quite different. But and I love the animals. They're all really well drawn. This is actually one of my least favorite cards. I don't really like this Emperor card. And there are very few cards. This King of Fire is beautiful. Very few cards in this deck that that I don't like. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, isn't this special? And this, you know, some of the cards do go off in a different direction. So that's 9 of fire, which is really quite, you know, a different look at 9 of wands. I love this deck. And I feel like I'm still getting to know this deck. So that's one of the reasons why when I go on my journey across the ocean to, I don't know, where am I going? Kiribati or something. I don't know. Some beautiful island in the middle of nowhere to do some soul searching. So that is 2. And then I definitely am going to take Margaret Peterson. So Margaret Peterson is the deck that is on my table in my bedroom, and I have had this deck out for a long time. I trimmed it a few months ago, and it's so much easier to handle. Shuffles really well. Sometimes I find when you trim a deck, it doesn't, you can't riffle shuffle it anymore. But this deck actually stood up to the, oops, here's one of the lily white cards still here. Cards everywhere. This is the deck, this is the deck. This is a deck that you need to definitely take the guidebook with you. For the majors, there is a poem for each of the majors. There's a lovely introduction in the guidebook written by one of her friends describing the process of making this deck. And you can really get lost in some of these paintings. They're really, really beautiful. This is a mass market deck. Is it a mass market? I think it is a mass market deck. Published by this is an amazing death card. I can just stare at it for a long time. Published by the same company. I think I only have 2 decks from that company. The other one is oh, I actually have it out here. It's a Thoth-based deck, and it has it's published by AEM or AGM or something like that. Here it is. Published by AGM. This is the deck I was talking about, Vision Quest Tarot. So that's 3. And if you don't have this deck and you, I don't know, it's quite an amazing deck. So that death card that I just showed you, I'm going to read you the poem for the death card just because it's just really beautiful. Entering the formless, changing of clothes, flaming like a sunset, travel on the path to nowhere, wisdom of the serpent, the thread cut, no longer separated we expand, stepping out of one's self. Death, old crone, with your flaming cloak you take what needs to be transformed. It's so amazing, this deck. I don't think I will ever put it away. Yeah, pretty powerful. Okay, so that's 3. Oracle of Echoes, Lily White, Margaret Peterson. And the other tarot deck that I'm going to take with me on my journey is the Chemonette Tarot by Eden Gallanter. And this is a deck I also have not put away. This is on a different table. So the table behind you, which is it's actually in the dining. I'm in my dining room. It's here. So this is also a deck that just makes you think and go places you didn't know you could go. This is an amazing book, an amazing deck with a very important guidebook as well too. And the guidebook is tiny, so I could pack that on my journey as well. When I received this deck, the box was all smashed up, and Eden kindly sent me a new box. So yeah, this is really a very kind of special deck for me, and I really enjoy journaling with this deck. I enjoy, yeah, there's something super special with this deck. I've never used it with clients. I don't think I would. I would recommend it to clients who wanted to do some personal work, but I've never used it with a client reading. And then lastly, the fifth deck I am going to pack with me is Maybe Lenormand. And the reason I'm going to take Maybe Lenormand is because it has 52 cards. And so you can use it as a regular playing card deck, so playing solitaire or playing cards with friends. And then you can also use it as a Lenormand deck. And I like the images, and of course the playing card associations are a really good size, so you can easily use this as a regular playing card deck. Yeah, and the cardstock is great. I mean, it's a little cardboardy, but it's good. And it comes in a good sturdy box. Unfortunately, it's a 2-part box, but what are you going to do? Yeah, and I'll just show you a few of the extra cards. So each suit has 4 extra cards, and in the Maybe Lenormand guidebook, there is, so for example, 47 is a flame for comfort. Let's just see here. Okay, here's 45. So that's a sick bed for illness. And in the back of the guidebook, there is also a description for the, I don't know what he calls it, super grand tableau. So you can actually use all 52 cards in a extra large grand tableau. Doubt you'd have room for that on the ship, but at least on the ship you have those, you have those little edges around the table. So maybe you could if nobody else was in the galley. Sorry, I forgot which one I was going to show you. But anyway, there's the pig. I think that has to do with overindulgence or something. I can't remember. I haven't used the extra cards very much. But yeah, each suit has 4 extra cards. So you have the full deck of playing cards. And so Maybe Lenormand is by Ryan Edward. Yeah, so there you go. All right, let's see if I can do one more question without flipping the camera. No, the next one has to do with tarot spread. So I will do a next video for the next question. So stay well, my friends. Enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.